Welcome to Will You Live. I'm Angelique, founder of Will You and WillYouGrow.com, an inspirational multimedia company that provides personal growth, adventure travel, and tips and tools for love. Have you ever wondered why it is that the cycles that you seem to be going through just never end? Have you ever chalked that up to feeling like that's just the way it is? Well, in today's episode, we're going to talk with Nemesia Sorcar. She's an acupuncturist and a committed student to her own personal growth. She's been doing personal growth work since college, and we're going to talk with her in depth today about her personal growth journey, and we're going to be following Nemesia's personal growth journey over the next 6 episodes and then touching base with her from time to time. I'm excited to introduce her journey of personal growth.
Hello, my name is Nemesia Sorcar, and I've been working with Angelique for about 15 months now. I'm an acupuncturist here in Knoxville, Tennessee, and I met Angelique at my acupuncture office actually. She came in and I knew right away that we were supposed to meet, and she knew it too, and I'm so grateful that she came into my life because she has totally changed the track of my life for the better. I met Angelique when I was going through a really big transition in my life. I was leaving a really toxic relationship and really just trying to put the pieces of my life back together after it basically exploded. And I've been working with Angelique on about a weekly basis for the past 15 months. And we've just done a soul deep dive basically into healing some patterns that I've dealt with for my entire life, and there were patterns that were really holding me back in so many ways that I wasn't even conscious of. And I'm about 35. I've been doing, spiritual work for almost 2 decades now. So I've been to therapy for about 15 years on and off, working on different relationship patterns specifically. I've done meditation, yoga, acupuncture, massage, energy medicine, self-study, introspection, just a laundry list of different types of modalities to try to work on myself as a person and really just come into my own authentic spirit and to allow that to shine out into the world. And all of that was helpful to some degree, but there was still a core wound that I was never able to touch on my own for those almost 2 decades of working on myself. And it was really with the help of Angelique that I was able to see some of those patterns and then be able to shift them. But I did try different types of therapy, EMDR, cognitive behavioral therapy, mindfulness, CBT, all these different types of therapy. And what I realized from those, because I'm a very intellectual person, I was basically able to intellectualize myself out of therapy and not really kind of neglect the emotional side of things. And it was really the emotional side of things that was the key to being able to go into those deeper healing parts. And what I found is that working with Angelique, she is an incredibly nurturing and empathetic person, and so she was able to hold space for me in a way that I felt really seen and really safe in a way that I've never felt before. So it was really, it allowed me to go more deeply into myself and to feel held in that journey into the underworld, so to speak, because it was a lot of some subconscious terrain that we were dealing with.
I'm so happy to be able to be here with Nemesia today because we've had such a beautiful journey together, one that I'm really proud of. When I went to meet her, it was off of an intuitive nudge. And like many of us, I think, we don't take the intuitive nudge on the first time. I had been nudged when I read about her and I had heard the recommendations of her. There was a knowingness. There was a clear cognizance that this is the right person to go get acupuncture from. Because, you know, if you don't have a really strong pull, who in the world is going to go on purpose to get needles in their body? Like, this sounds like torture. But the reality is that all the different points on the body that she can use and touch with those needles very lightly, they open up the capacity within us to receive and be more of who we are. To let go of things that are trapped in the body so that more of our own essence, which is the truth of who we are, can shine through. And it's been a beautiful process, and I will also share with you her YouTube channel. It'll be down in the description box. And I'm going to be talking about my experience with her on her YouTube channel soon. But for today, I'd like to talk a little bit about the intuitive nudges when we feel like we're trapped in cycles or we're stuck in something in life that just seems to be repeating itself and we don't understand why. It's so stuck that we might feel like this is the way life is. It's just the way it is. But we might have that little nudge inside of it that says, break free. It's not really that way. It's just what I'm experiencing. So my intuitive nudge brought me to her. Tell me a little bit about your intuitive nudge, or how you felt about coming to see me.
Yeah. Well, similarly, when I met you for the first time, it felt very much like meeting a kindred soul, and it felt very on purpose. And I felt very seen by you immediately. Like, I just felt that you could see my soul, and that's something that's very rare. I don't think many people are able to see each other on that level. So after the acupuncture session, I think we must have chatted a bit and decided that the services you had are something that I actually really needed, because I was going through a time of big transition in my own life. I had just ended a really toxic relationship, just moved out from that house into my own house, and was kind of trying to start a new chapter in my life. I had just moved to Knoxville. There was just a lot of my life that was in transition, and I felt really stuck. I felt like I'd been, as you were talking about the cycles, in a cycle, specifically with my romantic relationships that would come out, but really with all my relationships, there were certain cycles that made it hard for my relationships to flourish. And I could never quite get to the bottom of why that was, and tried many, many things, and it just never felt like I could understand why I was where I was in my life. And so I was kind of at a point where I was like at my knees. I was like in a place of like, I'll do whatever it takes to get out of the cycle that I'm in, because it's so painful to be stuck here. And so when I met you, I was in a pretty incapacitated place within my life, and working with you really, really helped me to start to come out of that cycle and be able to feel like myself again, because I really lost that.
And the reality is, this person who felt like she was on her knees, like many of us, we have a good front, right? She was able to run her business successfully. She looked wonderful. She was kind and thoughtful. She has a background that has some codependent traits, so she was all about me and all about the other people that she's doing work for. And anyone who couldn't see her on a soul level would think everything is great, everything's fine. They wouldn't know that there is a turmoil that's going on underneath. Now, most of us have something that's happening beneath the surface. Are we going to listen to what that is? And are we going to take care of it? Not as in trying to make it go away, but actually care for it. Offer it love. Learn what it has to teach us. That's what it is that we've been doing. So, would you tell us a bit about the cycle, and then we'll move from there to talk about what that first session was like?
Yes, the first session was incredibly powerful. So the first session was I came to Angelique's house, and a lot of the work she does is very based around nature. There's nature all around her beautiful house, and so as we were going through this session, there's birds and animals in the water. It's lovely. And I had a huge breakthrough moment the first time that we met, which was huge. Basically, I realized that I had separated love and safety for my entire life. And so I had forgone safety in dealing with love relationships. And as a result, had gotten myself into some pretty unsafe situations, romantic relationships. And as we're going through this, and she's teaching me about inner child work, we look over, and there's a giant tree in our backyard, our front yard, and a baby squirrel falls out of the tree. We're talking about inner child work, bringing back some of the parts of our inner child that were lost. And the mother squirrel came and rescued the baby squirrel and brought it up to the tree. It was so symbolic that was happening. It was almost like magic. I was like, what kind of wizard is this woman? So I really appreciated that she was able to bring in nature, bring in these really big concepts that I just felt so at ease with her. It was really easy to be able to go to those kind of intense emotional places. I know I cried the first session that we had together. It was a huge breakthrough moment. And I was like, I can't believe I have never realized this, but it's so simple but not easy. And she gave me a journal, and that's when I started journaling. And journaling, I found, has been a really huge, helpful tool in this process of self-discovery.
Yeah, that was a big day, for sure.
It was a big day.
Yep, and nature is giving us messages all the time. One of the beauties, though, is that when we work together, that I have a way that I invoke or pray or give thanks, which is really all very much wrapped up together, and nature will come and present to us what it is that needs to be known or learned during that session. So it was a really great experience, and we also had some vultures, which represent transformation and also a removal, because they can transform death to life. So rebirth is part of this journey as well.
Yes.
So the cycle was, how would you use some words to describe the cycle itself? Because you described that it was unsafe.
It was unsafe. It was prison-like. I felt like I was in a prison, that even if I would change my life, move to a new city, it's almost like the people, the interactions that I was having, specifically with romantic partners, was almost identical, but with like a different face. So that's when I, at some point started to realize, like, this is something within me that is drawing this in. And the cycle that I was really caught in was putting other people ahead of myself, like really just codependency, and not even having a super clear understanding of what my own goals and dreams were. So I remember her asking me, like, well, what are your dreams? And I'm like, I don't know. I didn't even think that was possible to attain them, so I stopped trying. And so, the sessions really gave me a new perspective and a new glimmer of hope for having the life that I want.
Yeah, and it's a journey. There's no doubt about that. This kind of work, where one comes into a level of safety for oneself, a level of peace for oneself, a level of joy within oneself. It's also called sovereignty, where you are who you are, and no matter what happens around you, you're able to navigate that. That is not something that happens overnight. You can't just take a purple pill. You can't just wave a magic wand. It's a process. And why is it a process? It's a process because your soul needs to grow stronger. Your you-ness needs to grow stronger so that you can make wise and joyful choices to allow this to happen, to allow yourself to create safety. Because when you've grown to be more than 30 years old and You've made choices that were based on what you thought was love, but it made you unsafe. That's normal.
Yeah.
And until you can experience something with someone that isn't that, where you can feel safe and a different form of love, that's when things really start to shift.
Yes.
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 So awesome.
Yeah.
Well, tell us if there's anything else that you'd like to describe just from that, whether it's the first session or what it was that made you know you needed to keep going.
Yeah. So it was slightly confronting, and I've never done spiritual work that was so confronting. And so I knew that I needed to do it. Sorry. It's the truth, though.
It is
yeah.
because the truth is confronting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think it can be easy to, you know, the spiritual love and light and like everything's fine. And it's like, well, maybe not though. Maybe it's not fine, actually. It's time to be honest and stop being fluffy. So, I mean, there was that, but I think the bigger piece was just that I felt seen so deeply, and I felt so nurtured and held in a way that I haven't with other therapists or spiritual advisors or healers. Like, I just felt safe and held, and I felt like she embodied the work that she was teaching. And that is one of the big things that I think a lot of people who help other people or therapists, like, I don't always feel like they embodied the work that they taught in my past. So to see somebody who just emanated their own sovereignty, I was like, I want whatever she's got. So tell me the steps to do it. Please. So there's that, but also just as time went on, I felt a sense of deep peace. And I think that's the most important highlight to knowing that you're healing.
Yeah, and that you don't have to give that up in order to have love. You don't have to give that up in order to have a relationship, because the relationships that ask you to do that aren't really love. Yeah. Well, so people ask, how do I know that? How do I, what am I doing? Part of it is an intuitive gift, so I'm able to see what's in the sub and unconscious. I'm also able to see blueprints of people's lives before they came into this life. So I can see what it is that your potential is, what it is that you could be if you chose to release yourself from the limitations. So that allows me to be able to see, as she says, being seen. She feels really being seen. What does that really mean? Is that I'm not going to buy the everything's fine and everything's glowing when I know that it isn't. And I will honor if that's where a person wants to stay, but I'm also going to look at them and say, are you sure? And if they're willing to go there and open up that conversation, we can actually talk about what's really going on. And guess what? All those things that most of us, and I know I did it too, in the past, if I hide those things and people can't see it, I don't feel seen. I'm also not really truly connecting with them, and they don't really know the whole full me. And maybe that makes them like what they think is me more, but they don't actually like me. And if they don't like me and I continue relationships with people who don't like me, that's going to make me feel alone, isolated, and abandoned when I'm in relationships. So this peace that she's feeling is not only a deeper connection with me and life and other people, but herself. That's the most important part, because she's allowing herself to see and connect to the parts that she wasn't admitting were there before. And some of it she didn't know were there because it was sub and unconscious. But I'm glad that I can see and feel and know those parts of people so that I can help them to connect with themselves more deeply. And when they do that, that's called integration. That means that you will no longer be at inner war with yourself. You'll be at inner peace. You'll know the unconscious, the conscious. You can bring more of the unconscious conscious, and you get to enjoy more of yourself in life.
Definitely. I'm definitely enjoying life more. Yeah, I feel a lot happier, more at peace overall since we've worked together. I would say that's the biggest gift, that this has brought in me. And the peace is comfortability with myself and who I am, and the unfolding of life, and the kind of enthusiasm and excitement to get to know myself on a deeper and deeper level.
Yeah. A lovely lady, a lovely soul, and she's honoring that she is lovely. She's honoring it enough to get to know who she is so that she can love herself more. And as she loves herself more, it allows other people to love her more too. So congratulations, my dear.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. And we'll be back in a week or so where we can touch base with her about what her next steps are in her journey. Thanks for watching, and join us in Africa. We're going to be going to Africa. Yeah.
Awesome. That's great.
Yeah, you want to come?
Kind of, yeah. I definitely want to come.
Okay, cool. We're going to Africa in November.
Wow.
So join us on a cruise with Deepak Chopra, where we're going to be going, along the of course, beaches, because it's along the water if we're on a boat. On a cruise ship, we're going to be learning some of his work, and then we're also going to be going inland to meet giraffes and elephants and all kinds of other wonderful creatures. I really hope to be able to see a tiger.
Ooh.
Doesn't that sound fun?
Sounds great.
So join us in Africa. The links will be below in the description box. If you'd like to reach out to me for a personal session, there's also a link in the description box, and you can sign up for free weekly articles. There's a link for that in the description box. Would love to be able to keep in touch with you and also let you know what's up and coming. So we'll see you on more lives in the future. And as always, take care of you, always with love. From Angelique and Nemesia.